2005 was the year that David Souter was pilloried, metaphorically anyway, by mostly conservatives, but there were a few of us progressives in there who were kind of upset with him for the Kelo case, Kelo versus New London, Connecticut. Those of you who are Supreme Court wonks know what I'm talking about. Those of you who don't, let me explain. The Fifth Amendment, and where I'm going with this, by the way, this is David Souter's revenge, and it's a good one. And what's happening here is that cities, particularly in this case, in particular, a city in California, Richmond, California, has figured out a way to use this Supreme Court decision to help out homeowners and screw the banksters. Or not screw the banksters. Leave the banksters intact, but not profitable. Not as profitable as they would otherwise be. And so let me just, lay out how it works. It's really pretty straightforward. Well, first of all, the Kelo decision. Actually, first of all, the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment to the Constitution says that first of all, the government has the right to seize private property for government purposes, for the purposes of building schools, roads. I mean, it doesn't specify what the purposes are, but in fact, here's what it says. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Okay, that's in the Fifth Amendment. So, in other words, the government has the authority to take private property for public use, but they have to pay whatever the market, just compensation, whatever the market value of their property is. So if they decide they want to build a road or a bridge through where your house is located, they can come to you and say, you are going to sell your house to us. We will have an independent appraiser determine its value, and that's what we will pay you, or some variation on that theme. Now, historically, this was always just for government purposes. Like, we're going to do this, and we're going to build a military base there. We're going to do this, we're going to build a school there. We're going to take your house and build a school. We're going to take your house and build a superhighway. These are all government functions. Well, in 2005, actually earlier than that, the city of New London, Connecticut, had a part of town that was on the beach, as I recall, or near a waterfront. It was significantly high value property that was basically low income housing. And there was a corporation, a for-profit corporation, that said to the city of New London, Connecticut, seize that property from those slumlords or whoever, or the people who live there. Seize that property, give it to us, or sell it to us at whatever the value of it is, and we will build malls and casinos and high-end housing, and instead of generating $1 million a year in tax revenue, it'll generate $100 million a year in tax revenue. It'll be better for the city. It'll be, quack, 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 quack. More tax revenue, better quality of life, blah, blah, blah. What about the poor people who live there? Well, they get to go live someplace where they don't have a view. Rather cynical, but hey, it resonated with the Supreme Court. So the lawsuit that was brought against New London was, you guys don't have the right to take private property and give it to a private for-profit corporation. The government is not going to end up owning this. It's going to be a private for-profit corporation that's going to end up owning this, and the only rationale that you're using is that the government's going to get more taxes and the quality of life in New London as a city is going to be better, and even that's arguable. But the Supreme Court said, no, this is fine, which radically expanded the power of state, federal, and local governments to seize your property for pretty much any purpose that they declare to be in the, using the phrase from the Fifth Amendment, public interest. Now comes the city of Richmond, California. Richmond, California, now you understand how all this works. Richmond, California is looking at all these underwater homes. I mean, this is one of the towns that was really hit badly. During the inflation of the housing bubble, you saw an explosion in property values in California. And Richmond was one of those cities where that explosion happened. And so what they're doing is they're going in and they're saying basically, somebody's got a $200,000 mortgage on a $100,000 on a house that is now worth $100,000. Now, the bank might have told you it was worth $200,000 back when they loaned you the money in 2006, but ain't no more. So it's worth $100,000. You got a $200,000 mortgage. And this is a danger to the town. People are going to walk away from it. They're going to default. Now, the banksters don't care. There's federal backup programs set for banksters. They get to deduct the not only do they get to take it off their taxes, but they also get money from the federal government when they take a hit on a foreclosure. Banks actually make profits on foreclosures. That's why they're pushing so hard to push through foreclosures. So what the town is saying to the bank is, screw that. If somebody's got a $200,000 mortgage on a $100,000 value house, we are going to come to you, the bank, and the homeowner, and offer to buy that house for $100,000 minus the cost of the whole process of figuring it out and evaluating it and determining and appraising and blah, 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 blah. So it's about 20% off the top. So it'll be about $80,000. We'll buy that house from you for $80,000. And you, the bank, you get to write off that $120,000 loss. You don't lose a penny. Federal government will back you up on this. To the homeowner, then, we are going to offer to sell that house back to them, and we're going to work with this company that's taking the 20% off the top to to make all this happen. They're going to get you a mortgage for $80,000 at current rates. So you get a brand new 20 or 30-year mortgage at 3 or 4% interest rate for $80,000 on a house that's worth $100,000. So the homeowner now has already instantly $20,000 in equity in their house. So the homeowner's payments are dropped tremendously so that they can, instead of sending money to the bank every month, they can go into the community, they can buy things at the local stores, and thus stimulate the economy, create demand, not just the local economy, but the whole national economy. And this is a really good thing. The homeowner starts building equity as they start paying down that house over the next 20 years. The house is worth more and more and more, so when they retire, they can have a place to live, or they've got equity in it. They can sell the house and live off that or whatever they want. And this is classically how the middle class builds equity. And the banks are, they're made whole. They're fine. Now, as you can imagine, the banking industry is hysterical about this. A couple of towns have tried this in the past and said, and the banking industry came in with lobbyists and lawyers and lawsuit threats and all kinds of things. Well, Wells Fargo, in fact, with the city of Richmond, just came, they were just crazy. They said, we believe this approach will harm mortgage investors. Right. In other words, banksters. It will. They're not going to make as much profit. The housing market, no, it's not going to hurt the housing market at all. And the communities and borrowers that its proponents claim they would be helping. No, sorry, not going to happen. So Richmond, has not backed down so far. And in fact, their city attorney looked into this and came back and said, we can do this. So let me just now say to any housing activist, and by the way, it was Occupy Richmond that was pushing this. This was the Occupy movement that was pushing this. Good on them. Let me say to every city in America, any city officials who are listening, or anybody who's an activist, or anybody who has a house that's underwater, talk to your local city officials about using their Fifth Amendment powers of eminent domain to take your home and then sell it back to you at fair market value. This would work. Banksters won't be happy, but hey, banksters are showing record profit. Last year, banksters made more profit than any time in the history of planet Earth. In the history of Western civilization. The banksters can handle it. Trust me.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So, pretty straightforward stuff. Richmond, California, this is a Bay Area city near San Francisco. They sent a letter out to 32 banks saying, we're going to do it.